Back to doing the door now. I rammed a bit of insulation into the aluminium extrusion there, and on this side, this poly recycled bottle stuff is great. You can use, I used a steel bar, just wrapped it around the end of it and pushed it through. Any other sort of insulation would have just broken up. But back to doing the door frame now, and I can then tidy up this mess that I've made of all the cabling. Looks like a bit of spaghetti, and that's only a fraction of it. All the stuff I'm going to reuse and repower on dedicated switches is there. But there's not a great deal now going up there. I've started clipping a few of it back now, but there's oh, is that damaged? No, bent. Thought it got a bit of damage there. There's the odd one or two there that I've cut off. These are the ones that went to the blue light circuit. I can't pull cables through this part of conduit. There's a bundle of tape up there in that corner there where I've drilled these holes for the awning. Can't get to it to free it up, which means I've still got a lot of redundant cable there. I wanted to get it out. Bit sad, but I want to get it out. In that gap there, there's a dirty grate vent. I don't think it's for air coming in. I hope not, because that's a dirty area. I think it's air going out. I have to think about whether that creates any problems in the van from a heating point of view or an insulation point of view. But it's a big thing. If I remove this rather filthy, I don't like touching this, it's absolutely filthy. There it is there. It actually goes, probably can't see. It's a very large vent, it's about a foot square. Look at that. There's diesel smuts everywhere on this van. Look at that in there, you can see how black it is. Before I get this painted I've got a hell of a lot of cleaning to do. But this thing now, I bet I'm probably covered in it. I took that off so I could actually gauge what I was doing before I cut the door frame out. I wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting into anything important, so I could have a quick look behind there. But right, stop for a moment, get on with doing some work. And today I'm doing Hole in the Wall Part 2, which is basically the waterproofing section, bit of insulation. Hopefully the glue will be going off overnight and then I can frame out the woodwork tomorrow. This piece of pipe is the Espacia heater pipe that ran from the outlet of the heater there, under the step, to that outlet there. I don't want it there, I want heating on the other side of the van. That pipe's stupidly expensive, so first job was to get it off and check that it was actually okay, no holes in it or anything like that, so that I can reuse it. Second job was to find somewhere to put it. In my previous video on the hole in the wall, I said I was going to run a bit of pipe underneath all the cables, and that is a piece of 90mm irrigation pipe. I'm actually also going to attempt to do a do-it-yourself T-piece and actually take it through that hole there, because it might be useful just to have an outlet in the cab if required. But the end result is it's going through underneath the cabling, through the other side of the van and out the wall. And you can just see there's a piece of wood. Can you? Will it? Yeah, a bit of packing wood there, because I've just drilled a hole, and obviously you don't want to be drilling into thin aluminium sheet unprotected. So the packing's just there, and whoops, I've just drilled that hole. I wanted to move it further across. Let's just move backwards slightly. I wanted to move it further across, ideally over there, but there are bolt holes there and there where the seat belt for the ambulance person seat was. I suspect there's an aluminium bar all the way down there right into the floor, a reinforcing bar. So I erred on the side of caution and I stuck it there. Did a few test holes first of all with a small drill just to make sure I was actually cutting into just the double skin and the insulation, and sure enough it was. So that's where the outlet's going to come out. 100mm hole saw, courtesy of eBay, tenner I think. It's worked perfectly. I've already used it several times today for other things. But that's where we are at the moment. Holes going in. I'm about to now chop up this piece of tubing, reuse parts of it. to connect up these pipes. Then I will be sealing the plastic pieces, which I have sitting behind me. Bear with me a second. There you go, a bit tight, but the pipe does fit through. That's the piece I've just chopped up on my bandsaw. That will go into the lower part. Don't need to actually do any waterproofing at the upper part, because there's a seal there already, and I will just make sure everything is sealed up here. But this lower part here is open to the elements. The upper part I will simply just pack out with insulation, the same as I've done on this side. Oops, can't see where I'm looking. That's filled up with insulation. I've also filled these voids up with insulation as well. Not really necessary, but I should do it anyway. And then where this white plastic fits, I can get a little bit of insulation behind there as well before I put the timber in for the door frame. But that's where we are now. Update later on once I've got something built. So, summary of today's escapades. I've installed a pipe, created a T-join, installed the outlet. I'd like to have got it further over there, but I think I mentioned earlier, I believe there's some structural supports in that area there for the seatbelt bolts. So there's the outlet there. I've got a small piece of plastic at the moment just to maintain the shape of the aluminium. This pipe is actually in two sections. There's a joiner there where that black goo is. That's effectively the join I've created, because I couldn't get an entire piece of pipe in from where I'm going to be connecting it under the van, that end, to where it needed to go into the elbow I created at this end. I've used, probably for a very rare occasion, expanding foam. I don't like it. It's horrible stuff to work with. I've put 3 layers in here so far. You need to give it time to expand. I can trim the top off of this last layer, but that entire pipe is now bedded in foam. So is all the plastic that I've used to waterproof the outside, up to where the original surround was for the original window. I've got the clamps in place with the timber that's going to go in there, simply to hold the metalwork in place, otherwise the foam will expand it out and distort it and move it and do horrible things with it. And then my piece of wood that I've carefully cut on the bandsaw won't fit anymore. So that's in at the moment. Tomorrow I will trim this foam back and just tidy up a bit, clean up the mess. One of the things you always do with this stuff is just let it go off. Don't try and touch it, clean it. If it falls in the wrong place, leave it. It's easier to clean up when it's dry. WD-40 will take it off in, if you're really desperate, it will clean it up. But the easiest thing is you've got a drop there. Just leave it. It'll break off, won't do any damage at all, but you get it on your hands, move it. It is horrible stuff. Why people put it in the ribs of their vans, I don't know. Right, I'll just show you the outside if I can. So there's the end result. Just a small bead of foam around the plastic. That will expand a bit more than that, but that's sufficient to waterproof that area. And then in my van I've got a large air intake there, which limited how much I could build this box. And then the actual pipe that I put in is, there it is. Is that showing? Yes, it is showing. So that's got a rubber glove on the end at the moment, simply because you don't want this horrible muck getting in there. And then I can bring the heater hose up just past the cable to the, I think that's to the step, but the heater hose will come up there quite nicely. I can connect it on the end of there with a Jubilee clamp, and that's got my heat through to the other side of the van where I need it, as in an inobtrusive way as I could possibly get away with, short of running the pipework under the van, and that wouldn't work either. So, also you can see underneath the plastic there's a bit of the door frame, or a bit of the door, that's sitting on top of Sikaflex, black Sikaflex. I hate the black, I'm not going to use black anymore, you just get it everywhere and it shows, but there's a bit of that it's sitting on, and the whole board is foamed in. As I said, I started off with layers at the bottom there, let it expand, because it was important to waterproof that base board. above everything else. I've got a very tight joint there. You can't actually see any foam on this side, but there is foam on the other side. Anyway, yeah, that's all sealing up nicely. That's good enough. We won't get water in there. I should go over it again. I'll take the boards out, the wooden boards out, and just double check it tomorrow before I set them in place. So, that's a temporary door lining. It's actually there just to keep everything square and straight, because the door carcass is actually now screwed and glued. The glue will go off hopefully overnight, and then I will take this carcass off, or this lining off rather, and then I've got a big piece of grey aluminium to cut that was originally on the bulkhead side in the cab, and that houses the Genesis system and the battery chargers. Once I've cut that, I can actually build a proper door lining using some oak flooring that I've got left over. That'll probably make quite a nice door frame. Insulation's just dropped down there, but worked on that today, been leaving it to glue, and then spent a happy hour or so getting the piece of pipework from the heater to connect up to the pipe I connected there. A bit convoluted. I had to remove the, that is easier if I show you. Vent there, that's the cab extract or outlet for the heater system in the cab. That was just in the way where I wanted to connect my hose up. Fortunately the whole thing unclips and it just drops out. Very, very convenient, because it also meant I could get my hand in there and push the pipe on and do the Jubilee clip up and everything else. Too dark, I think, you can't see it. No, there's nothing to see. No, nothing to see, I won't bother with that bit. There's my little outlet, pointing upright. I didn't have room to get a proper solvent weld T-piece in there or anything else. It wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have been able to manoeuvre the pipe in place, so my DIY T-piece will work fine, and I can connect a little bit of hose to that somewhere, maybe. But anyway, had to remove that. Everything's connected. Glue is all going off. And then, as I say, I will cut the aluminium sheet to match, and then I can do a proper door lining, and with a flush router bit, trim it all round to fit properly. And then I should probably carpet the whole lot in this grey carpety stuff, and the back of the door that I'm going to build, which will also be oak, will probably have this grey carpet on as well. So it looks reasonably clandestine from this side. Anyway, that's it for today.